Welcome to my GCSE presentation. The first learning objective is to understand the sea of electrons slash the lattice of positive ions structural model for metals in explaining their physical properties. This is the general structure for all metals. As you can see, the positive here is the metal anions, and the green here, these are the electrons, the sea of electrons. As you can see, they're all vibrating and moving around. This sea of electron is the reason for metals' properties. The sea of delocalized electrons causes these properties. It conducts heat and electricity. It causes it to be malleable and ductile. It reflects light. Has a high melting point and boiling point, and a high density. There are exceptions to this though. Mercury is these are just two quite common exceptions. Mercury is one. It's a liquid room temperature, so obviously doesn't have a high melting point or a high boiling point. Aluminium is also an exception, and it's much less dense than other metals. It's much lighter. Another property is that it conducts heat and electricity. This happens because the sea of delocalized electrons can carry energy along the metal lattice from the negative to the positive charge. As this allows energy such as heat and electricity to travel across. Metals are also malleable and ductile. The metal ions can move around when force is applied on them, and the sea of electrons will keep them bonded together. This allows metals to be bent and stretched into many shapes. As you can see, this arrow shows force being applied on this row of metal anions. It slides across, and the sea of delocalized electrons, keep it all bonded into one shape. The sea of delocalized electrons will also reflect light away from the metal. This makes it shiny. Another property of metals is that they generally have high melting slash boiling points and have a high density. This is because the strong attraction between the tightly packed cations and sea of electrons. This forms metallic bonds that require lots of energy to break. This attraction also causes the metal anions to be very close together, so metals are generally very dense. The first question is to describe the properties of metals and relate these metals to two metals of your choice. This is my answer. Most metals are very dense with high melting and boiling temperatures. They're also very malleable and ductile, and they could also reflect light. And this is one of the metals I picked was copper, as it's especially good at conducting electricity and is very ductile, so it's often shaped into like electrical wires. And the other metal I chose was aluminium, as it's very strong and durable like most metals, but much less dense, as I stated in the first few slides. But it has a similar strength to other metals, and that makes it very useful in aircrafts, as planes need to be as light as possible. The second question was is copper and titanium are important metals. The following table shows some of their uses. It shows that copper is used for electrical wiring, water pipes, saucepan bases, and jewelry. And titanium is used in hip replacements, rotors on helicopters, and pipes in chemical industry. So the question is to describe how the properties of copper and titanium make them suitable for these uses. Firstly, copper is especially good at conducting electricity and is very ductile, so it's easily shaped into wires, and it also conducts heat very well, so it's used in saucepan bases that allow heat to pass through it and cook the food. And as copper is very ductile, it can be easily shaped into water pipes and jewelry. It's also lustrous, so that makes very good looking jewelry. And titanium is very resistant to corrosion and is strong and durable, so it's used in hip replacements, rotors on helicopters, and pipes in chemical industry. This is important because these things can't be replaced often, it's expensive, and its low density, high melting point is also useful on helicopter rotors. The second learning objective is the arguments for and against the fluoridation of water supply in order to prevent tooth decay. Fluoridation of water, it does just prevent tooth decay, and it can do this as fluoride is toxic, and in low concentrations it will kill bacteria in your mouth, preventing tooth decay, and is safe in its low concentration. But some people disagree with fluoridation of water. Some of the arguments against are sodium fluoride is used as a rat poison. It's toxic to people, and can cause bone cancer in high concentrations. Can also cause brittle bones in high concentrations. Can discolor teeth, and some people see mass medication as an unethical thing. This is the first question. As you can see, the table below gives different information about the concentration of ions in drinking water in 4 different locations. As you can see, there's 4 different locations. Sodium sulfate can be formed from the ions found in water. I mean, this is simply Na2SO4, and the 2 compounds that could be formed in water location C. I picked NH4F and MgF2. As you can see, this just balances the charge. So there's 1 fluorine will balance the charge if you combine it with NH4 plus. And the second compound, magnesium, is +2. So you'd have to have 2 fluorines to make it a balanced charge. There are 2 others you can have. You can have NH42 SO4 or MgSO4. The next question is to state the location where you would expect to find the least amount of tooth decay. Give a reason for your choice. You'd have to go with B, because this contains the highest concentration of fluoride. Second question is, a water company is planning to add fluoride to drinking water. The following graph was used to support their plan. It shows the number of decayed, missing, or filled teeth is affected by the presence of fluoride in the drinking water. And the question is to state how the data in the graph is used to persuade people that adding fluoride to drinking water is a good idea. As you can see, as the percentage of fluorinated drinking water increases, the mean number of decayed, missing, or filled teeth, or DMFT, is decreasing quite a substantial amount. And part B is to discuss why some people are against the fluoridation of water supplies. So I picked 2 reasons for this. Some people think sodium fluoride is toxic, and fluoride can cause bone cancer in high concentration. There are other ones you could pick, such as causes brittle bones, discolors teeth. It can also be taken different ways. You don't have to have fluoridated water to take fluorine. And some people think mass medication could be seen as unethical. Thank you for listening to my presentation.